How you doing? Good, good. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, I would like to welcome you to Decisions and Consequences, or Choices and Consequences. The first thing I'd like to say is in group one here, we are transmitting. I don't know if this is the first time or not, but this particular group is transmitting on YouTube and Facebook live. And we're doing that so more people can participate. So I want to ask each and every one of you, if you're comfortable with that, or if you're not comfortable with that, then we can assign you to another group.
The purpose as well is to generate a time capsule. Like whatever we say in this debate, we can check it out in a few years and see how right or wrong we were. Like our decision making, our reasoning, if it was actually accurate or not, because we don't have that many opportunities to be participating and then looking back in retrospective and then seeing really how our reasoning works, right? Because we're always convinced that we're right. So that's actually another one of the reasons why we're doing this on Facebook Live and having it on YouTube, so we can go back as a reference, as a time capsule.
So JP, we're going to have this recorded anyway, correct?
Well, yeah. This group, yes, because time capsule and as broadcasted live on Facebook.
But we're going to manually record it in writing also, in addition to the video, correct? Or to the live stream.
Time capsule really. So what we're going to do is like in general, I'm going to write down what our perspectives are. Even though the reference will actually be the video for this group. If it was not transmitted live, broadcasted live, and then having it recorded for so we can watch it in the future, it's definitely very useful to write the conclusions, but we can come back to it anytime. So I will be doing that as well, like other groups, but really our reference for this group will be this video, so to see how we used to think.
Okay. Again, if everybody's okay with that, we'll proceed here. So I just want to go over the rules. Go over some. David?
Yeah, can I hop out and just remove my last name and hop back in?
Absolutely, David. Sure, absolutely.
I think you can just.
Yeah. Do you hear some background noise there, JP?
I think it's maybe it's Heather. I'll ask her to mute it, but it's Heather. If you can hear, can you mute your mic? It's there's a little bit of noise out there, but if not, I'll just send her a message.
Okay. Sounds like a dog.
Yeah.
Or an animal, perhaps. Okay, so I just, again, welcome. I'd like to just go over a couple of few administrative items. Please keep your cameras and microphones on. If you'd like to, you can raise your hand in Zoom, in chat, or interject, but please keep the responses short. You can answer many times, but just kind of keep the conversation short, because we want to have conversation and not monologues. And I'm going to show this. If just to remind people, if the conversation goes on a little too long, that we're looking for monologues. Hopefully I won't have to do it. And then the discussion will last a few hours, and then we'll return back to the central forum. And if you want to see everybody, just click gallery, and we'll return back to the central forum at 9:20 Mexican time.
Awesome.
So the first question I have is, where are you connecting from? Very quickly. I'm going to answer first. I'm connecting from Canton, Michigan, a town close to Ann Arbor, the world headquarters of Domino's Pizza?
Oh, wow.
Wow. Let us answer quickly. We are from the Netherlands, but we are currently living in Mexico City.
Ah, and the two names?
I'm John, and this is Rob.
I'm Rob.
Very good. John and Rob, thank you.
I'm JP. I'm from Sinacantepec, connecting from Sinacantepec in central Mexico.
Very good. Jackie?
I'm Jackie. I am currently in Mexico City. I'm American though, but I haven't been living in the States for like 5 years. So.
You're from the Twin State, right? You're from Florida.
Yeah, I'm from Florida.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very good. Naomi?
Hi, everyone. I'm in Maryland in the US, and looking forward to the debate with you guys.
Great. Great. And David?
I'm David. I'm from the east coast of Canada, and I live just a little bit west of the east coast of Canada.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. I think we got everybody here. The next question is, and I'll put this in the chat too. Tell us about a time you were convinced you were right and made a mistaken decision. And why did this happen? Let me put it in the chat here. I'm a fast typer. Tell us about a time you were convinced you were right and made a mistake, a mistaken decision. And why did this happen?
Wow, that's a very well. Actually, I have one. It's a little bit well to kick it off. I remember. Well, I used to be very Catholic, and then I went to Southeast Asia backpacking, and I met this Buddhist monk. And I remember being like totally like I thought I knew what I was talking about, and I told the Buddhist monk like, oh, you know, like he was my age. I was 21 back then. He was 21, and he was learning English in Laos actually, and I told him like, oh, what do you believe in? Which, you know, like God or whatever. He's like, no, well, Buddha is he's an example and whatever. And he's like, I'm like, man, this guy's so lost. You know, I have to save him. You know, and then I started trying to convince him about, you know, like Christianity, and then he started asking some questions, and I told him like, so as a monk, what do? You know, if you see a pretty girl, I was like, well, the base of non-suffering is no desires. And I'm like, wow, you know, like, and he's like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I don't know, chase after her. I don't know. You know, he's like, well, that must make you suffer a lot. I think the conversation went on for a while, and he's like, can you teach me how to pray? And I was very shocked. I'm like, wow, like he wants me to, so we prayed together and whatever. And then I asked him, so what's the point of your religion? And he's like, well, you know, like to end suffering and being happy. And he's asked me like, what's the point of yours? And I'm like, well, to, you know, behave well and go to heaven and stuff. And, you know, like, but like a lot of the answers made a lot more sense from his side than from my side. And I remember like vividly being like this guy's so lost, he's gonna end up in hell, whatever. And then after a few minutes really of conversation, I remember saying like, wow, you know, like maybe I'm wrong, you know? And so that's one of the, I have a few examples, but I think that's the one that comes to mind that I actually saw the progression of something that I thought was that my decision that I took unconsciously of being a Christian, and then not being a Christian, just like in a matter of one conversation. So
interesting. That's great. Thank you, JP. If you want, I've got my story is regarding what happened 4 years ago in the last election. I predicted that the other presidential candidate would win, the one that did not win. And I guess I underestimated the dissatisfaction of a very angry American public that did not believe that the American public would buy the promise of someone who had a past that many people thought couldn't be trusted. So I was 100% wrong, and I remember exactly where I was standing when I found out the next morning who won the election. And I never forgot, and probably never will. It's one of those things that you never forget. I'm still kind of in shock that he won, even now, 4 years later. So there was something that I thought I was right, but I was very, very, very wrong.
Yeah.
Anybody else, Jackie, or anybody?
So the one that I'm thinking of is on a very small scale, but I mean, it works. So this morning, I got upset at my boyfriend about how he opened the cereal box. And I was thinking about it because for me, it's kind of like, okay, this is the right way to do it because this is how I've always done it. And because this is, other people I know do it this way. And so he did it differently. And so I got upset and I was like, why did you do this? And I mean, it's a very small thing, but I feel like to take his point of view into account, I suppose.
Yeah. But it's
Interesting.
I like that because it's true. Like, even little things, it reflects in little things, like I remember I used to cut oranges when you were saying, like a certain way. I mean, my girlfriend cuts it in a different way. And I was convinced that I was like, why do you do that? And no, really, it's easier. The way she cuts it, it's just easier to eat. And I was convinced that she was wrong. And that was, going back to that, like a few days ago. Anyway, yeah.
That's interesting. I have when I heard your story there, Jackie, it reminded me of things too, where I do things out of habit, and then I realize when I sit back and I see somebody else do it a different way, I always wonder, why did I do it that way? So interesting. Thank you, Rob and John.
John, you first, please. You? No, I don't know. You don't know. Okay. Probably there are more stories to tell. I was a supporter of Cuba in the 80s.
Ah.
And I was member of a big organization in the Netherlands, who solidarity with Cuba. With the new human beings, all that kind of stuff. So I go to schools to predict the system in Cuba. And I was convinced by myself that it's the right way of living, the right way of governing, the right way of a political system. I was convinced. But after a while, I start discussions in this organization, and I put some hot topics in it. And then I was wrong. And that was my biggest belief in socialism, or in the big stories, are collapsed in my way. So I was not right. But when you're not convinced, you cannot predict or something to do in a school or in a system. But yeah, I now say, no, it's not a good system. It's not what I want. But at that time, yeah, I was convinced.
Thank you.
That is very interesting.
No,
Are you ready now?
No, seriously, please, another one.
Okay, sure. David?
Yeah, sure, I'll try. It's hard. There are so many times that I've been mistaken that I try to avoid 100% certainty at this point. I come from a background where I too, like JP, I was raised Catholic. I used to hold a lot of conservative talking points, even years ago, even after I was Catholic. So I used to argue kind of like transphobic talking points and things like that, and would get into discussions with people on like sports teams and things like that. I was that guy. So coming and doing more research and having more conversations, you eventually figure out that these things that you felt so ingrained in, and these decisions you decide to make of being so adamantly argumentative with people, you're just incorrect, and there is a perspective that you didn't see, or there was a rhetoric that you were caught up in.
It's a real education that we all have, and it takes a strong person to say that we were wrong too, which
Yeah.
I'm. It doesn't surprise me with the individuals here that you have very open minds.
Yeah.
Naomi, go ahead, David. Finish off.
All I was going to say is I think one thing we should all learn is like it's okay to be wrong. Like there's a lot of stigma against being a hypocrite in society, but like calling out a senator who is now like pro gay rights, who was not for gay rights like 10 years ago, it's like, well, this person has grown in some way, so don't call them a hypocrite, call them like maybe a better person.
Maybe kind of like what the Pope said recently too, huh?
I missed what the Pope said. I don't pay too much attention to what he says anymore.
No, but what he said was kind of interesting, along the lines of what you were talking about gay rights. Hi, Elizabeth. Welcome.
Hi, welcome, Brian. Sorry, thank you. It's been a while. I haven't been in a debate, and also it's been a while I haven't practiced my English. So I try to figure out to listen to you, and of course, I will be glad to join this debate today.
Perfect. I just want to let you know too, Elizabeth, that we are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. So I want to let you know that. And if you are comfortable, you're perfectly welcome to stay here. But if you are not comfortable, we can assign you to another room. So I wanted to let you know that.
Okay, thank you very much. It's okay. It's fine for.
Oh.
Okay, my camera turned off. Sorry. I'm here.
Okay.
It's okay. Never mind. For me, it's fine to be on Facebook and YouTube. So I will be famous for an hour probably.
Okay. The question we're talking about right now is in the chat, Elizabeth. Okay.
Okay. Let me see the question.
And while you're reading that, Naomi.
Yes. Yep.
Do you see the chat question?
Yes, I can.
Tell us about a time you were convinced you were right,
Okay.
but you had a mistaken decision. And why did this happen?
So it's actually the same as yours, Brian. Can't think of anything right now that's like personal to me in my life, but the same thing. 2016, I absolutely thought that Hillary was going to win, especially with the populist vote being favoring her. And then I think I was up till like 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning watching the news and following everything, which was very exhausting. And then it turns around that Trump won. So if I had bet money on Hillary that she was going to win, I would have probably I was not sure that she was going to win. So that caught me off guard. I think even up till today, actually. I'm shocked. Yeah. So this election today, I'm so anxious because based on what happened in 2016, I just don't know.
You know, I'm scared to say who I think will win. I'm so nervous. I just don't know. I mean, even though the polls say something, I give up. I mean, I'm just wrong. I was wrong.
Yeah.
So I echo what you said.
Yeah, and actually, from 2016, I started really looking more deeply into the Electoral College, because I was so shocked, and I'm like, wait a minute, you know, I'm seeing the popular vote, and I thought like Hillary was going to win, and then they're like Electoral College, you know, and Trump wins. So I start doing all this research and trying to understand the Electoral College, and honestly, even up till today, I still don't think I 100% understand it. But you know, it's better than my knowledge from 2016. So,
Thanks, Naomi.
Thank you,
Elizabeth.
Well, I suppose we are talking about the candidates tonight, and it happens the same to me as Naomi. I thought last election was going to win Hillary, but it was a big surprise, I think, for most of the people in the world that Trump win that elections. And tonight, I think it's going to happen again. I think Trump is going to win. I suppose that because he's a person that he's very confident with himself. I think that it hasn't as the other candidate. I don't know much about him, but I think Trump it makes a scenery where everyone feels, you know, I know where I am playing. I know this guy. I know how he plays the rules, and I think I feel like person. It's going to vote because it feels like a little secure. The result is going to happen if Trump wins again. I don't think Biden is going to win. It's a perception. I know something in my intuition says that.
Well, it'll be interesting to find out. We'll know tomorrow probably, or maybe even tonight. Thanks, Elizabeth. Welcome, Conrad.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
I want to let you know, Conrad, if you didn't already know, we're broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah. No problem. I've been told. So
cool.
I brush my hair, and so I have impressible.
Well, you always look good.
You and I, we share the same style. It's the last trend in the young people. So yeah, what are you talking about, guys? What are you talking about?
Okay, so the question is in the chat. Tell us about a time that you were convinced you were right, but you made a mistake. And why did this happen?
Regarding politics, I suppose. So, two times. Once when the Hillary Trump election in 2016. I mean, I'm in Mexico City, so I have no vote over there. But I felt that Trump was going to win because he was just a wild card, and it was a brand new thing, something that nobody expected. So I was hoping that he didn't win, but I felt that he was going to win, and so that time I was not mistaken. In Mexico, when we have this initial election 2 terms ago, when Enrique Peña Nieto won, we were all pushing for Andres Manuel. I know it's disappointment, but I was really hoping that I certain that Peña Nieto was to win. So it was mobilization in the city, mostly young people. We were rallying against Peña Nieto, and we were pretty confident that it was going to be a change, because he's from or he was representing the old that party for the people that it's not from Mexico, maybe not. It was a party that was in power for over 60 years in a row. So yeah, we want change. Yeah, I was confident it was going to win. The other candidate, it didn't happen. So why did this happen? What was I wrong? Maybe because, as in many elections, I believe in most of politics election, we vote from the heart, not from not from the head. We hope for something different, for something to change. And yeah, that can make me that makes us not pay attention to the reality. So I believe for US people that happened with Hillary and Trump. Most people wanted to, or were saying, it's impossible that Trump is going to win. So I believe we all been in that path in some time. For me, that was the time.
Thanks, Conrad. Thank you.
Yeah.
Brian,
Yes.
so sorry, if I may, I've thought about this question.
Very good.
There have been many times that I was convinced I was right, especially when I was in a fight with someone. I knew for 100% that I was right, so I walked away. I think this is very common behavior, isn't it? And I think the question is, why did this happen? Is because I don't know the English expression, but I was wearing blinders. Is that the expression?
Yes.
Like what horses
Yes.
wear? I wasn't able at that moment to look around me. And I think that's the reason I was blindsided. Does that make sense?
It does.
You said something that I think it's really right. Like we make a lot of mistakes every day.
Yeah.
Why is it so difficult to think of examples?
Yeah.
Are we just not used to like recording like when we're wrong? So that's why we end up doing the same mistakes over and over. I don't know. Like today I was like when this question came up, I have a couple of examples, but I should have way more, like I don't know, like I'm sure I make a lot of mistakes every day, but why can't I think of one?
I judge every person in a second. It's always a judgment. But
Everybody does that, I think. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you're alone. Well, we're going to be getting into a little more detail of why that is the case. We have questions specific to that a little later on. Thanks, everyone. I think everybody's answered that. What we're going to do next is we're going to do a time capsule here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pose a question to everyone, and I will record your answers. So I'm going to be recording them myself on paper. So if you could kind of be as concise as possible to help me record them. So what we'll do is we will review this in the future, maybe 2 to 4 years from now, and see how right or wrong we all were. And that should be very interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it in the chat here right now.
Okay.
And so tell us 3 specific things that will change if Trump wins and if Biden wins in these 3 areas. The situation in the world, and your personal situation. I'll go first, just to give you a chance to think about it, okay? So, to answer the first question, if Trump wins, I think the U.S. will continue to break records for cases and deaths compared to the rest of the world with the pandemic. That's the situation in the U.S. If Biden wins, I think we are going to see a different approach to the pandemic, and hopefully it'll be a different approach, and it will be an effective approach. The second question with respect to the world, if Trump wins, I think the world will continue to be threatened by an even bolder and aggressive China and Russia. If Biden wins, I think the world will continue to be threatened by an even bolder and aggressive China and Russia. And you know something? I think regardless whether Trump or Biden wins, I think what my statement will hold true. I don't think it's stoppable, regardless of who wins. And the third question, if Trump wins, I think Social Security protections will be reduced. And if Biden wins, I think that he will attack some of the problems with regard to Social Security going bankrupt within 10 years.
Wow.
So
that is pretty bleak, Brian.
I know. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong, and I'll find out in the future.
Hey.
Okay.
I
JP?
think if Trump wins in the U.S., well, regardless of who wins, the U.S. will become like a very polarized country, regardless of who wins, because I think the trend has already started. So the Democrats will be very unhappy if Trump wins, but also the Republicans will be very unhappy if Biden wins. So I think polarization is something that the U.S. is going to have to deal with for a while, regardless of who wins. Okay? At a world level, I think if Biden wins, there'll be a lot more consensus. You know, like the relationship with China, with Germany will normalize a bit more. But if Trump wins, I think relations with China will keep on escalating. Relations with Russia, with the rest of the world, with the West, will be escalating, and the world itself will become more polarized instead of more like a more consensus kind of approach from Biden. On a personal level, I think I'm going to be seeing a lot more Central American migrants in Mexico if Trump wins, because they're sending them back to Mexico, and it will not be so if Biden wins. That's my personal crystal ball kind of guess.
Okay, JP, the very last one, you broke up, at least with me. Your personal situation, Trump wins.
If Trump wins, I'll be seeing a lot more migrants, Central American migrants, back from the U.S. And if Biden wins, I don't think that'll be the case. So if Biden wins, I don't think that will be the case.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I'm writing this down here too. So
I can write down, Brian. So I can help you write down the answers.
Okay, I got yours and mine.
Yeah, cool.
If you could do, who would like to go next? Maybe Elizabeth or no, Conrad. Conrad.
Yeah, I can go. So from here, from Mexico, what I see, or what I expect to see, not hope, if Trump wins, what is going to change in the world? I don't think.
Conrad, sorry, is this the answer to situation in the U.S. first?
Yeah.
Then the world, and then your personal situation.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
In the US, I don't think it's going to change much for the polarization in between the communities. But I hope that it's going to be a more shadowy, a more behind closed doors. And I'm being more specific to racism, to the intolerance, because right now Trump is a very good face for these movements. They are being well allowed to exist and to run amok. So I hope if Biden wins, that will change. But if Trump wins, I don't think that would change very much. I believe that thing is going to be still like a big mess down there. In the world, I believe if Trump wins, the world is going to you know see like if the US is the king, is really the king, because right now the EU it doesn't have really good relationships with Trump. They don't work well with the US at this time. So, but China maybe is going to be more rampant and on the escalation of positions in Europe. Maybe it's going to say, oh, okay, the big guy is down, and it's not going to recover. It's time to hit the gas and maybe go and try to hit harder, and maybe not saying that going to try to attack US, but maybe monetize on the US not being a good commercial partner with the rest of the world. And if Biden wins, what is going to go with the world? Maybe the world is going to say, okay, there is a chance that the US gets back in the tracks and not just let everything burns down. Maybe the perception of the world towards the US, if Biden wins, will be slightly better. But I don't think it's going to be radically better.
Wow.
And yeah, and for me, what it's going to happen for me, I don't know. I mean, I don't live in the US and I have to live there. But if if Trump wins, that will be even less the chances that I move there or try to visit there, because I don't know, man. Things are wild there, and I kind of brown. I'm brown, so I don't want to be there in case the Proud Boys or these guys go more violent. And if Biden wins, where is going to be my personal situation? I don't think it's going to change much, actually. I think Biden, it's not, or I feel he's not like a very strong candidate that it's going to do some burning things, like radically change the system. I think it's going to be like a step back to more traditional politics. So I don't think that it's going to change
So
much
with Biden wins, you don't think that that he will be more open to immigration?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But I don't think that he's going to be blatantly racist.
Okay.
I think he's going to say we go by the law.
Okay. Gotcha.
People that came here by the law, it stays, and people that came here that came to US illegally, yeah, they need to go back to their homes.
But without all the racist rhetoric, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Thank you, Conrad. JP, did you get those 6 responses for Conrad?
Yep.
Thank you very much. Thanks, JP. Jackie?
Somebody else go first?
Yeah. Elizabeth or Rob or John or?
Let me see. Well, what I think about this question, Trump wins, things won't change. He will is still going on with the same political inside the country and outside the country. Okay, first, if Biden wins, I don't know much about him, honestly. I don't think he won't change many things as well. Sorry about my camera. Yeah, and I think what is going to happen with him, probably he will look after a new war to distract the situation of USA, because war machine works a lot the industry and give ups the Biden will look after a new war. Okay, don't know where. Probably Asia. Probably, but that's what I think is going to happen about these two candidates, about the USA politics inside and outside, and about my personal situation. I think I will still living here in Mexico, so I don't think I will care about if there's another war will rise, because it won't be headed to Mexico, this commercial relation. We say in Spanish, like mal necesario, Mexico for USA. Okay, so for me personally, I think I will still living nice here in Mexico with no other issue.
Okay.
The USA politics to me. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Elizabeth. You were kind of breaking up a bit. Sometimes your camera goes on and off. Is it your internet connection that's a little funny?
But that's fine.
But we got, I think, did we get everything, JP?
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks very much, Elizabeth.
Guys, just if you want to follow the results, I just post a link from the BBC.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's the live count, and it's really close right now, 44, 42.
Wow.
But the night is young, so.
Okay.
Thanks, Conrad. Robert John?
Yeah, I have to say, I am less optimistic than you are. I think I'm very worried for the US if he gets 4 more years. I think it's bad for the unity in your country. And I think that the Trump supporters, well, what you spoke about was the polarization. And I'm really worried about the unity of a country. And I think that after 4 years, that the people in the US are used to a system that's not good. And that reminds me, as a European, of what happened to Nazi Germany. And I'm really worried for you. I'm so sorry to be the Debbie Downer. I think there has become a blurry situation right now in which you think that situations are normal. And as a Dutch man, every day I am shocked by how people respond, because it seems as though most people say, oh, well, yeah, that's it. Not only about Trump, but also about how I'm just in shock that 47% still wants to vote for this situation. I'm really worried. And I think that the world is seeing this from an outside. We've seen a country that is a young country and that wants to be the world leader. And we can see that the US is failing right now because of Trump. And I think the arrogance that the US can have towards the world is trembling down. I think as a European, I'm not taking things too seriously. I'm so sorry about this negative news. And personally, I cannot stand looking at Trump and his family. I cannot stand. So I am really upset if he wins. This is very personal, but I hate looking at his face. I hate looking at his, listening to his words. So oh my goodness, I don't know. I'm just upset because I can see a lot of resemblance between Trump and Hitler.
Wow.
So that's my news from a Dutch European. And I think you shouldn't underestimate. We laugh at the way he supports Proud Boys. We laugh at the way he says Black lives. Oh, well, why do they matter? The LGBT rights. This is how it happened in Europe. So I'm really upset and worried about your country. That's it.
Thank you. Thanks very much. I can see it. I can understand your European perspective.
Why is this even a 50-50? I don't get it. Why do people still vote for this man after all he's done and said? I don't get it.
Thank you.
And I don't get about the whole system in which, about the system in which the majority can vote for a president, but the majority can lose. I don't get that.
We're going to talk about that in a subsequent question. It is incredible. We're the only country that does that. Do you have a comment yourself? That you're John, right? That just spoke, correct?
Yes.
Rob.
Yes.
Rob.
I'm not positive either. I'm really concerned about when Trump wins. I think you have another Putin in the White House, and he's not leaving. He's taking a coup, and that's going on in a democracy like the United States, and that's concerning me, really concerning me. And what John said about why is this happening? Why all the news, the journalists, all the opinion makers, what is going on in the United States? So in the last 4 years, the United States lost their compass. They have no moral rights, ethic rights. They are gone. They are gone in the world, I think, for the world. So Biden, when Biden wins, I think he has a lot to do. He had repair the image of the United States, and I don't know if he had succeed or can succeed that. I don't know. The world is laughing at the United States at this moment. They are laughing. They are not seriously taking care or listening to the United States. United States gone. But it's frightened me because of the power of the United States with nuclear power, and that concerns me a lot when Trump wins. It's like Hitler, but Putin is the same. He's jealous of Putin. He's jealous. From a personal situation, my belief in politics was low, and it's even lower. When Trump wins, I think United States, it's gone. I'm not believing.
What's your personal the effect it would have on you personally if Trump wins and Biden wins?
When Trump wins, I shut down my internet connection. I shut down the television programs. I shut down everything. That's my personal situation. I lock down myself and never read anything about United States of America. That's
and if Biden wins,
and if Biden wins, with an open mind, I would listen to him how to repair the image of the United States.
Thank you. Did you get that, JP, with both Rob and John? Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
This is just a vote of not everybody in Europe thinks like this. We're quite emotional about this. Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you. Conrad, did you have something? I think you put up your hand.
Yeah, just for John. This is possible. Why this is happening and nobody is doing anything? You can check out a film, a documentary film. It's called Hypernormalization.
Yeah.
It touches a good deal of these topics, that things that are going wild, and we're all like, well, that's the thing. Yeah, it's
It
happening. Oh
happens.
yeah, yeah. Oh, it's more racism. Yeah. Oh, gay rights are being destroyed. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, it's happening. Yeah, yeah. If anyone wants to check it, it's in YouTube. It's free, available. It's really good, and kind of long, but it's a good piece.
Thanks, Conrad. Jackie, did you want to weigh in here?
Sure. So I think a lot of people have been talking about the US being polarized, and I think it's already polarized. So as far as the changes, I feel like if Trump wins, it will continue to be more polarized and along the same lines. However, if Biden wins, I still think it will be polarized, because it's not like just because one person wins, everybody's going to be friends again. People will still have their views. So I still think it will be very polarized. I still think there will be a lot of unrest and disagreements within the country. I feel like it's kind of like one candidate will help some people while another candidate will help other people. So I feel like the country will continue to be polarized. It's just one group might be happier than the other, whether either one wins. As far as the outside of the US, I feel like the world, like different leaders it will be more teamwork if Biden wins. Whereas if Trump wins, there will be more countries kind of against or looking down on the states for Trump's decisions. And then me personally, because my boyfriend is Mexican, and one day I could be starting a family where my kids would be Mexican, then my family would be Mexican. So if I feel like if Trump wins, then I don't know if there will be laws that will keep my family from being able to go into the States, or even just a stigma when my family goes into the States of how people will see them and how it will be accepted. And I feel like if Biden wins, then there would be more kind of balance in how my family is viewed in the States.
Thank you, Jackie.
May I ask a question to Jackie?
Yep.
So Jackie, you said that if Biden wins, the division will be equal to if Trump wins. Am I right?
Yes, I think so.
So my question is, during debates, Biden has said, I will be a president for all Americans, although it's just politics, we know. But can you explain that? Because I have the idea that Trump is only president for a specific group.
So because they have different target groups, even just with the people that I know very well, the people who are in a higher socioeconomic status, they will benefit from Trump policies. Whereas policies that Biden puts into effect, it might raise their taxes, it might cause them so financially it will affect them just because of certain policies that Biden wants. So from listening to people I know, there are a few people who are very pro-Trump, or not pro-Trump, pro-Biden. It's just that they're very anti-Trump. So not necessarily, well, some people, the Biden policies will help them. So like more lower class people, the Biden policies would help them. Or certain groups of people, Biden policies would help them. But also there are a lot of Trump policies that would help a different group of people and kind of hurt this group of people.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jackie. David?
Sure. I'll take a stab at it. I definitely don't know enough on this topic to make any accurate prediction. If Trump wins, my predictions are there will be a continued rise of nationalism in the U.S., like already alluded to by a couple of people. I also have a worry of fascism, as my friends already mentioned. I'm also not an American, so it doesn't directly affect me. Yeah, and there's already the authoritarian tendencies, and I think more and more of those are going to come in, and rights are being taken away from people for the sake of the Constitution, which is super fun. On the global stage, I think there's going to be more power plays from for corruption of U.S. systems, particularly like some of the technology sector and things like that, and you're like the emboldening of like Russia and other countries that I think, despite what Trump says, have actually been emboldened by his first election and will be even furthermore by a second election, especially if they feel like they've manipulated the elections in some way. And then, for me personally, the biggest thing is that some of American discourse and tendencies tend to spill over into Canada, and the Republican and particularly white wing, which is a very abstract term, but conspiracy has been growing in the discourse. And I have other conversations that I go to, and the right side is now full more and more with conspiracy theories, even in Canada. So I'm expecting the growth of conspiracy to grow, probably in general, but especially when you look on the kind of conservative spectrum of the Overton window. If Biden wins, I agree with what Jackie was saying, where I think similar to Hillary, at least for me in a lot of ways, Biden is the thing you pick that is not Trump. Because with Hillary, it was because it was a continuation of this Bush-Clinton kind of thing that's been going on in the US for 30 years or something like that. Anyway, for the US, I think basically Biden continues an establishment. So the US goes back to where it was, 16 years ago or 12 years ago. I don't necessarily think Biden is a step forward for them. It's more of getting back on track to where they were in the past, when they really need to be further forward than they are. But because of the crying socialism and things like that, it's very hard for America to move from where it's stagnated at this point. So I expect that any progress Biden tries to make that way, especially if it's a landslide, I'm expecting a Mitt Romney type to appear at the next election, a very clean but very conservative Republican to come in and take back or attempt to take back the House. On the world stage, I think it's really, as people already said, kind of things start to regulate as far as the opinions of the US, but probably as Biden takes hold again, some trade wars, because I think that's how most of the battles have been happening, even under the Trump administration, is trade wars and kind of reestablishing deals, but then having to be meaner to some people than others. And for me, if Biden is elected, it's just basically I don't get most of the bad Trump stuff. I think the only other thing is, so we have a new Conservative Party in Canada that was established in the last Canadian election, known as the People's Party of Canada, which is a highly nationalistic party. And I expect if Biden wins, it'll have the opposite effect. Actually, probably equally if Biden or Trump wins, the People's Party will surge. But for some reason, I expect a larger surge if Biden wins, because they're going to be kind of trying to establish that hope that they had with Trump in Canada now that he's gone.
It's an interesting one, because maybe if Trump wins, nationalism will start becoming a normal thing for the world, so it may replicate here
again.
Yeah, I mean, it already and then this People's Party was started. But I almost wonder if it'll have like a backfire effect if he loses, that it'll push people even further to be like, well, it happened in the US, years ago. So now it's our time again in Canada to try.
Thanks, David. You got that, JP? Thank you. Thanks. And Naomi.
Hi. Honestly,
do you see the item in the chat?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, good.
Sentence. So I don't know. I don't even know where to start.
So Trump wins. What's the situation in the US?
The situation is that things are going to get worse. There's going to be more violence. There's going to be more killing of Black people or minority. And that's very scary. There's going to be more racism and more boldness of racist individuals. They're going to get very boldened by Trump winning and very courageous. So that's my opinion. Now, if Biden
wins, situation in the US.
Unsure. I don't know. I don't know if I trust him. He's been in the government for many, many years. Yeah. So honestly, I don't even know what to say about that. I don't think anything is going to change much, but it will be slightly a little better than if Trump were to rule for the next 4 years. I'm hoping, and I'm hopeful.
Okay. So the situation in the world if Trump wins.
The situation in the world if Trump wins is, I'm actually pitying and feeling sorry for a lot of less fortunate countries and third world countries, because Trump has really strained the relationship with, for example, he's pulled out of WHO, the World Health Organization. And so him pulling out, he also cut off all the funds. So, the WHO and the UN and the trade organizations, especially UN and WHO, they help a lot of third world countries in the world, with, financially, helping them with vaccines and things like that. And so when he cuts off the funds to these major organizations, I think those countries are going to really, really suffer. And this is not a very good look for the US as being a strong country.
Okay. And if Biden wins in the world, situation in the world?
I think the situation is going to start getting better. Biden has a lot of work to do and a lot of things to fix. Actually, I wouldn't want to be in his shoes, to be honest with you, because I would hate to clean up after him, especially looking at the global situation. So what's going to happen is he's going to try to clean up what Trump has undone and destroyed, but it's going to take more than 4 years. So it may take him 8 years, because we know in 4 years a lot of things can't get done. So is Biden going to last up to 8 years? He's even going to be alive? Who knows?
Wow.
Just throwing that out there. So
okay. So if Trump wins, your personal situation, Naomi?
If Trump wins, well, my personal situation, and I know we're on YouTube and Facebook, I really don't want him to win. I think immigration is going to be screwed. I think that the U.S. If Trump wins, I think he's going to change a lot of laws about immigration and people being able to come into the U.S., such as like the visiting visas and work visas and things like that, which he has already.
But with regard to your personal situation, how would it affect you if Trump wins?
This I don't want to talk about on here because it's being spread to.
Okay.
But I'll just be broad. For instance, with the ban on like U.S. visas being issued for certain people coming into the United States and things like that, that is affecting me personally with my family and my spouse.
Okay.
And so because of this, I really, really do not want him to win, because this is going to determine, if we're together or not, and it's going to affect my son. And so it's very very serious situation.
And if Biden wins, your personal situation?
I am praying that the U.S. I'm praying that he's able to undo a lot of the damage that Trump has done. That's what I feel when it comes to immigration and things like that.
Okay.
Like undo it.
Thanks, Naomi.
Thank
Elizabeth, did you answer this? I can't remember. Did you? Were you able to weigh in?
Yeah, I have her.
You have her. Okay, we got everybody. I think Jan.
Jan.
Just
welcome.
Time capsule.
Yes.
Woo.
Yeah. This is the. Nope. I can put it in the chat again.
I think I remember the question, so no worries, Brian. It's about the consequences for the US, the world, and me personally, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Any of the two win. So
right.
Yeah. So let's start.
It's in the chat.
Okay. Cheers. So let's start with the US. I think if Trump wins, in the long run, I think American politics will be drastically changed, probably, and here's the provocative part, probably for the better, because of the huge rejection of the values and the systems that put Donald Trump into place to start off with. That's in the long run. In the short run, we'll have a kind of Latin American scenario where there's going to be huge polarization and spilling over into some kind of violence, hopefully not armed violence. That's definitely a possibility, especially if Donald Trump becomes the first president to win both terms without having won the popular vote once. He'd be the first one in history. That's the US. In terms of the world,
Jen, one question. You mentioned in the long term, the politics will be pretty much like turned upside down. What is long term for you? 4 years, 8 years, or 2 weeks? I mean, this year is packed with too much. So I felt like I'm 10 years older. So where is the long run for you?
Well, I say 10 years, 10 years, and more, right? So 5 to 10 years would be like medium term for me, but maybe I'm off. In terms of the world, I think if Trump wins, the US's role will continue to diminish, and it will become more and more irrelevant, relatively speaking, obviously, because it's still the biggest economy and one of the largest democracies in the world, right, in terms of population. And for me personally, not much will change. That's the truth. I mean, I'm not an American citizen. I don't live in the US. I don't have close ties with the US. Maybe in the long run again, certain things, because the world will have changed, my life will be different, but it's very difficult to project. That's Trump. if Biden wins, I think we might see a huge shift again in American politics, and we might see a certain, like a certain, what's the name of that battle? I forget. Thermopylae moments in politics where 300 Spartans stopped the Persian invasion and Biden stopped the wave of populism sweeping over the world. That might be the case, or that just might be the outlier. Any two events will definitely have major shifts on the macro level, but on the personal level, I think I'm pretty well shielded from the worst of it.
I'm curious because I don't think anyone mentioned it, but the lame duck period, if Biden does win, what happens there? The lame duck is when the president is still in power, but has to hand over the reins in a couple of months. And basically, you have this man who to some seems a bit unhinged, and he's now lost. And it seems like he cares a little bit of winning. And does the world survive a lame duck, Donald?
Well, that's a great question, David. If I can chime in before anyone else wants to go, I think there's going to be, even normal politicians during their lame duck periods usually pardon a lot of people, usually push through legislation which is wildly unpopular, etc., etc. And for Trump, I think you'd see twice or thrice the number of that kind of behavior. But even Trump has an institutional straitjacket he can't get out of. I mean, he as much as he tries, he can't become dictator with a harem of Slovenian models around him. It's just impossible in the US right now. Yeah.
He's already got one. His wife.
Yeah, and she hates his guts. So yeah.
Okay, thanks. So thank you all for the comments there that will go in our time capsule. Do you have any questions there, JP, before we move on?
Ready to move on.
Okay, very good. So the next question that I'd like to pose to everyone is, how aware are we of the consequences of our choices? Here's I'm putting it in the chat. So how aware are we of the consequences of our choices? And the second part of the question is, how do you compare with the average voter?
Is this going to be like the classic scenario that I am very good informed and everyone knows nothing, and that's why everyone is fucked and I'm smarter? Because I believe that we might tend to go into that trap that say, yeah, I follow the news and I am seeing the polls, but that depends on the outlets that we are looking for information. If you just stuck with a left party or left leaning channel, well, you will obviously say, okay, there's no way Trump wins, and I'm pretty confident that I'm doing the correct vote. And if you're going for the Fox News or other more wild outlets, it's probable that you will tend to say Trump is the only good answer because they are saying that there's a good answer, and they are showing me the problems that the country will run into if we don't vote for him. So that is a really tricky question, because I would like to say, and again, I'm not in the US, I'm not voting for anything, but again, it seems like we're all always thinking that we have quality information. And I don't know, it seems like right now there's too much information all the time, contradictory information, fake information that we don't have the time or the knowledge or the degree or even the energy to
or the skill
or the skills. Yeah, I mean,
to do the research.
yeah, man. How much time do I need to invest in comparing the news outlets? It's too much. It's a full-time job. I don't have the time for that. So I'm for the specific question. Uh, I I don't know how aware am I of the consequences of any choice, because I mean, running a country is not the same as running your house, you know. So yeah, I can maybe see one or two things that I'm more into. Maybe if I were to vote there, I would be looking for I don't know, equality of an environment. Yeah, that will be my two topics. But I'm not looking for economy. I'm not looking for in the I don't know, changing the political system that you have, because I don't know enough of that. You know, I don't know enough of economy to say, okay, yeah, if Trump wins, it's going to do this and that change to this and that treat. I don't have enough information, and as you say, skills. I'm not doctor in that.
I echo
So yeah.
your sentiments there, Conrad. You know, how aware are we of the consequences of our choices? You know, if Trump does get in, I'm not even sure if Trump knows what he's going to do next. I mean, he just kind of flies by the seat of his pants, so he says what he thinks at the time. So, and you know, I think many people don't really have chess player brains, thinking several moves ahead of our most recent decisions. I know I don't. I like to think of myself as somebody who before he makes a decision looks at the pros and cons, but I can only see so far ahead, and many times things in life surprise me a lot.
Well,
Yeah, we're playing checkers, and those guys need people that plays like 3D chess.
Yeah.
but I think, for example, from my perspective, I don't think we can be aware of the consequences because we don't know. Like there's so many there's so many other factors that come into play that it's just very difficult to know. But what I can do is to measure. You know, like where am I right now, according to who I want to be. If I want to be, you know, like financially and with my relationship wise, work wise, whatever, and then that's how I start judging the quality of my decisions in the past. In retrospect, according to the results that I've gotten so far. So that's really, I think it's very difficult to think in the future, but in retrospect, it's a lot easier. And I think that's something that we can do every day. You know, like not every day, but in a single day, just say like, okay, how was the quality of my decisions financially? You know, like how was the quality of my decisions as a partner or as a whatever, you know, like. And then maybe set a standard of like, okay, in 5 years, where do you want to be? I want to be like here in this parameters, and then do a time capsule right now, and then see in retrospect what how the quality of your decisions, of your cumulative decisions at that point in time.
So
Thanks.
yeah.
Yeah.
What JP is saying is actually very interesting, because I think, you know, in the ideal world, the average voter would be a person, would be a bit more like the Soviet Union in terms of making those 5-year plans and trying to stick to their execution, no matter the cost, in, well, not in human life, but, you know, in hours worked maybe. So yeah, that would definitely be a world where people are more disciplined. They confront their hypotheses with what actually happened in the real world. So they apply the scientific method to their lives. But I think, you know, the average voter and by the way, the average human, and I think we're all guilty of that, myself included, we understand our surroundings, we understand ourselves, we shape most of our decisions based on the grand narrative we have in our head. And it's so easy to manipulate that. It's so easy to say, hey, I'm this and that, and the identity of my race, my nationality, what have you. And what you end up seeing is in country after country, not to rip on the US specifically, whole sectors of the population voting against their direct economic and political interests because the candidate they're voting for is a better fit to their life narrative. And we're just getting updates right now that probably Trump will win Florida, and that's because of Florida Hispanics, mainly Cubans. And you could possibly say that because like Latinos and Latinas in the US have been disproportionately harder hit by the COVID pandemic mishandled by Trump, them voting for Trump is actually actively voting against their interests, but still they do it, right? So, and that's not to say that they're making a terrible mistake, that they have other criteria that they're using. So the average voter and the average human is always based on the narrative and not on hard facts and 5-year plans.
It's funny that you mentioned the scientific method, like saying that it will be more desirable to move toward a more scientific approach to analyze the options and cast a vote. But that's just a myth that it's not going to happen, never in any place. Because I was telling the group prior that most of the votes that we cast, most of the decisions that we do, they are not scientifically analyzed. They are emotional. We tend to go for emotions, so I don't know if the ideal world that you plan, that you're stating here, that we need to be more scientific, that's not going to work. We need maybe politics that are more pointing to a good emotion, not voting for hate, not voting because I hate Trump, or not voting because I hate Biden, but voting because I really engage with the thing that person is saying, that I know it's going to benefit my community and it's going to benefit.
But is it a contradiction, Conrad? I mean,
yeah, it is.
You could say, making a decision based on emotion, if you have the appropriate tools to understand your world better, isn't necessarily a contradiction towards making a decision based on facts.
Exactly. It's like chicken voting for chicken nuggets.
But I think what they consider, though, is that the intent of these people is not necessarily like they're not necessarily interested in their economic, or they don't have the perspective of what their economic outlook will be like, and they're much more concerned about something like pro-life. So like they're voting for Trump because they don't want babies to get aborted, and that's like the single issue they're voting on, even though the catastrophe that happens to them in all these other ways, but they're not like we were talking about before. They have their blinders up. They're like, I want to make sure as few babies die as possible, and the world can be burning around them, but as long as like babies aren't getting pulled out of people, everything is okay.
Well, I think that's a difficult thing about voting for a leader, because there's not just one thing that you're voting for.
Right.
There are so many intertwined different issues that you're voting for. Some may be great for you, while some may completely mess you up. So you have to, it's kind of like a relationship, I feel, because, in a relationship, you decide, this is the most important for me, and so I'll learn to live with these other things, because you won't find someone in a relationship that's absolutely perfect either. And in the same way, you won't find a leader that's absolutely on the same page with you for everything. So you have to kind of weigh, what are you looking for, what's more important to you, and then make that decision. So I feel like a lot of people, I feel like the average voter, they kind of look at all the different facets of what the leader stands for. Granted, we don't know the consequences, like other people have said. So just because you vote for what they say, it might not actually be what happens. But a lot of people look at what the person stands for and they decide what's best for them, what's best for their family and their situation at the time.
I'll push back a little bit because I remember last election, there were a lot of conversations around how a lot of people are single issue voters. So there's really only one thing that really turns the key for them. And everything else is like you said, it's like stuff they accept because of that highest priority thing. So it's unfortunately not as hierarchical as like, well, maybe I'm okay with my first thing not getting met if the next 5 things are met. It's more like number 1 needs to be hit and then everything else be damned. And the thing too is that there are gaps in that list too, where they don't know that they care about like, school lunches for their child. They don't know that they care about that until they don't have them. So like there's a bunch of blind spots in that voting as well.
Well, I think I don't think any candidate can check all the boxes for everybody. You have to pick what's important to you and then just vote, how you feel is right. Because, if you pick five things that are important to you, but your candidate's against 3 of them, but 2 of them really matter, you know who you're going to vote for.
I agree, Brian, but for me as an European, I don't understand why you give a president that power, what is huge. In European countries that not exist, a president is just for cutting ropes or something like that, but not that power. And here in the Americas, it's here in Mexico the same. You have a huge, powerful man, or mostly man. And I think, why? Is that democracy? No, there's nothing to do with democracy. Nothing.
Well, I think some of our other questions that we have, Rob, might touch upon that. And I have some comments too about whether we even have a democracy and what type of democracy we have. So, John, you look like you want to say something, or Jan?
The choice is between two people, isn't it? It's a 2-party system instead of a range of more parties.
Yes,
which is quite odd for me. Yeah.
No, can I just say, on the ballot there are other parties. There's a Green Tea Party or something like, and there were like other options to choose on the ballot as well.
There is an option.
Yeah, there are other options to choose. So some of those votes are going to these other parties, but if they just maybe had put just Biden and Trump, then I don't know.
But they're not real options, Naomi, right? Yeah. Because going in that if you vote for third-party candidates, your vote will never be for a winning candidate.
Yes.
So it's interesting to it's not the subject for today, but it's an interesting musing you may have about why are there 2-party systems in the world, and building on John's point, there's like if you have two candidates, there's going to be a way lower match between the ideal candidate for you and the candidates on offer, because there's only 2. So if you have 3 real candidates, there's already a better chance that you'll be able to vote for more than just one issue. By the way, 83% of Trump voters say that they're voting on issues and not on the personal qualities of the candidate, and that's very understandable.
Yeah. But Brian, the question is,
Rob.
Am I aware of the consequences of my or our choices? I think when we had a plan to migrate to Latin America, I first aware of the consequences of the choices of Europe. for the first time. So I have to do something to blow up my bubble, to think on the other side, what is the consequence of, for example, Mexico? And I think bubble and your own interests or your own whatever. And with an open mind, you can say, okay, I have made a decision and I can pull back and say, oh no, that was wrong. So do you have strength to do or to say, okay, that was a wrong decision? I think awareness is very difficult. It's not easy. For me, it's not a piece of cake, no. But I hope I will do it in the future again and again to see the opposites, to see the backgrounds, to see what's happening on the streets, to see what's in the neighborhoods, the consequence of our decision. Look, feel, hear, and I think, yeah, that's the only way. It's so complex. I agree. It's so complex. It's not a science. No, it's
no, it's more of an art, I think.
Yeah. But I think our plan to go to Latin America has very much an impact on that awareness. Yeah.
Just one comment on something that Brian said prior to Rob. That you say, Brian, that when you go to the voting poll and you think where is the better option for me, where is the best option for me and for the topics that I care about. But that seems kind of weird for a democracy, because a democracy is the power of the people, not the power of the individual. So sometimes I feel like we are seeing like in this case a presidential election from my standpoint. It's like, if I vote for Biden, I'm going to gain this. If I vote for Trump, I'm going to gain this or lose in any case. But do we really just stop and say, what is going to gain my community? How is this going to affect my family and my neighborhood and the people that I care about? And seems like we are seeing it from a very, very individualistic standpoint. And there is something that I don't know how this work. For example, in Europe, in Mexico, it's pretty much the same. Like, this is the guy because I like him. This is the guy because he's not the other guy. This is that is how we vote here. I don't know. Seems like in US is the same. I don't know if in Europe it's different. If you think more community, you cast a vote.
Yeah.
I'm just. Yep.
Well, here in Mexico, here in Mexico also, the voter has sometimes the ridiculous position that they choose a president because he is handsome. Just as simple as that,
Like Nieto?
Yeah.
What?
Like maybe AMLO and Nieto?
Yeah. So, what much do you expect when the consequence of the choices of the people when they think like that? Probably now the persons that we are now in this webinar, we have a strong a well education, university probably, but most of people also in the United States, they don't have it. So they because of the personal interest. I need to vote to this candidate because he is going to help with me with his project about retirement, for example. So things like that. People think and choose their votes because of emotional things. The vote isn't rational. It's just expectations about our interests. Only that.
then does democracy work at all? Then if the system is made for rational decision and no one takes rational decisions, so what to use? I mean, that is a question that I think it's very interesting to start doing. You know, like if the human mind and the psychology is not made to make rational decisions, then why are we using a system that at its base needs rational decisions? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks. I think we should move on to the next question, which I put in the chat. Tell us something specific you would change in voting to make our political decisions better. I'd like to go first. With respect to the US, getting rid of the Electoral College to make the US a more representative democracy. Today, it's possible for a candidate to not get one vote in 39 states and the District of Columbia and still be elected president by winning the popular vote in 11 of 12 states. The Electoral College can, for me, disregards the will of the majority, give some states too much electoral power, and reduces voter participation by creating a feeling like my vote doesn't count.
Well, in Mexico, I think we need more like a parliamentary representation system. Here, as Rob was saying, you know, we have, the presidents are too powerful, right? And why not? And the problem is that they stay in power for 6 years. Sorry, I think it's they stay in power for 6 years. Mexico, what if they're not doing a good job? You know. So we have to, like, the system is not built for. It's built for someone that's proven to have a good record of government. We don't have that. So what happens? We just have to stick with this dumbass for the next 5.5 years until there's another election. But I think for example, we need a more representative, like a more parliamentary system. I think that if someone is not getting results, then we can change. So I think that would be a bit of the Latin American or the Mexican perspective. Okay,
thanks, JP. That's interesting, since I don't really know how that operates very well. Jan?
I have a very specific policy proposal, and the policy proposal is, and it applies worldwide. It's not country specific. The policy proposal is a ban on voting for humans. Completely banned. You're not allowed to vote for humans. Oh, and by the way, no other primates either.
Come on.
Yeah, no chimpanzees. Yeah, I know they're your favorite candidates always, the populist chimpanzee party. But no. A decentralized system where you vote for policy proposals, and there are effective controls that you're not voting for the specific, for the branding of the person, for how handsome he or how pretty she is, how tall or how short, how white or how black, or whatever you want to, use that as your main criterion, or how pro or anti-life, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so it's all about taking the emotional triggers out of the elections and the political system, because we get too many emotional triggers just by sizing up a specific human.
So
and I think that's sorry.
So the issues would be the driving force of making change within a country.
Yeah, I don't really want to launch myself into a huge manifesto about the new political system I'd like to create, but it would be, really based on a chain of maybe a blockchain of traceable policy proposals, beta testing, alpha testing, expert commissions which would be hired by the citizenry for just one specific issue. But it's all about saying, hey, to go to when you're interested in fighting a trade with China, and Biden is the best guy to go to when you're interested in I don't know, getting approval of the Catholic Church for abortion, legal abortion. I don't know, right? So it's not making this a zero-sum game where the winner takes it all, and the winner is always a human.
Wow, that's an interesting perspective. Wow.
I'm totally on board with Jan. Not with the primates, because I will totally vote for the bonobos, for the bonobo parties. But try to vote for projects. Try to vote for I don't know if I will call it as Jan, for political decisions, but for projects that you somehow can understand that will affect you more or less directly to your daily life. I mean, and having something like a really good expert panel for really big and complicated issues. I mean, if they are not voting for the candidate, because I mean that is just a popularity contest, and politics shouldn't be a popularity contest. It's not working. It hasn't been working never, and it's not going to work, because for example, as Rob was saying, that how is possible that one man can have all the power to be the president, to be the one that have the final word? There are 300 million people in the US, and to have the power to make the right decisions for all of them, or for most of them. It's too much, it's too big, and it's too complicated. Maybe try not to vote for the guy, and try to vote for the things, for the projects, for like a business. And I'm not saying that turning the political system into a business system, but when you're in a business and the decision makers, they say, okay, we have $10,000, how do we invest it? It's not like, okay, I'm going to vote for you because I'm going to vote for the marketing guy because he has really nice shoes and he speaks really cool. Or no, I'm going to vote for the accountability because he's like, he's moderate, and he's a family man. No. Let's vote for okay, what is more needed right now? Oh, we need a IT infrastructure. Okay, how much does that cost? 3,000. Okay, 3,000. What else do we need? Oh, we need hire better people. Okay, let's invest in the HR department, in hiring department. So for
Yeah, and an example of that is what nobody will agree to provide stimulus in the U.S. A $2 trillion package to help out into companies and bars, restaurants, gyms, and all these hundreds of thousands of restaurants in the U.S. These people have no jobs, and there's no will in the government on both sides to help them right now. And I can see what you're saying. That would be one huge example of another example of what you're talking about.
Yeah, I really feel it. I'm on that business, and if that will be more democratic, because that will represent what the people needs, what the people wants.
Yeah.
Not like this big narrative that a government may say, like, let's change America to be greater, and let's push against China. It's like, we don't understand how that affects us. And I mean, I'm not in the US, and still I can see that I don't know how how would that affect me in my daily basis?
Yeah, that kind of goes with the previous question. How can we be aware of the consequences of a huge decision like that to decouple from China? David, do you want to weigh in on this question?
I think what I would say is, and so like this is fresh off the mind press, so please keep that in mind. But thinking about Jan's suggestion, for me, one of the problems I think is that the actual organization of like, I'm voting for candidate X federally, and the consequence of me voting for them is also a vote for the prime minister. Though most people would look at it like I'm voting for the prime minister, and because I voted for prime minister, I'm also voting for this representative for my area federally. And so what I would say is that I think that it should be the people that I elect locally should be part of the decision of who actually becomes the prime minister. So prime minister is off the board. The election happens, everyone votes for their local federal representative. And then if you have a minority government, they all fight for like 2 months until they decide who the prime minister actually is going to be. Kind of the Pope system, except it doesn't need to be unanimous. So in a majority government, obviously the party leader probably very easily gets to the top. But in a minority government, you have more opportunity for maybe one of the other party leaders or an independent to actually take the head of the house.
Interesting. Yes, Elizabeth?
Well, I just want to say to you that I am reading the news and Trump has won the first state, Indiana.
Which was totally expected. Yeah. That was, I think the probability of that on 538 beforehand was 99.8%. So we're still living in the central universe. We haven't split into the unknown universes yet.
But we already were 4 years ago. We split off.
We forked years ago. That's true. But we're not forking now for now. We'll see what happens in Texas and Pennsylvania, for example.
I'm glad we agree we're already forked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jackie? Tell us something specific you would change in voting to make our political decisions better.
I would give us more decisions. So we talked about in the US, it's basically a two-party system. And honestly, I'm not sure how other countries work, but David, I like your idea of like, we vote for some people and then some people might vote for other people, because then that would maybe give more opportunity, like there would be more choices. Also, I would somehow take all the money out of politics, or at least some of them. I know that a lot of decisions that are made by politicians are, at least in the States, because of who can buy them and who can buy their vote and their decision. And so I would somehow take that out. No idea how that might happen, but I feel like that would make it better, especially for us little people who can't buy politicians.
Jackie, that is kind of the issue with the two-party systems, that in the US there are more options, but you only see the two bigger participants that have the more money to have a bigger campaign and rallies and lobbying, you know?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, the other difficulty you have is, so like in Canada, we presently have 4 major parties and 5 parties that are represented in debates. And the problem is, like, it was like 18 years ago or 17 years ago, the 2 conservative parties got together so that they could like rally all the votes to kind of like take more power, because it was basically, there was two major conservative parties and 1 major liberal party, and the major liberal party was collecting like all the liberal votes and just smashing the 2 conservative parties, so the 2 conservative parties combined. Now we have the opposite situation happening, where liberal votes are breaking up among 3 parties and there's only 1 conservative party. So the huge conservative party gets more and more power as people start to split into the other parties. And so you get a lot of people who will not vote for the party they actually want to vote for because they don't want the Conservatives to win. So they'll vote for the major Liberal Party rather than the Liberal Party they would actually like to vote for.
Yeah, definitely.
Very good. Naomi?
So I would like to get rid of the electoral college. I think
2 votes against the electoral college right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's outdated to modern day situation that we're in right now. So I think it should always be the populist vote that decides whom the president is for the US. So that's my opinion.
Okay,
US is
thank you.
weird in that aspect. You use the electoral college and use the imperial system, the metric imperial system for measurement units. And I really don't understand either of two things.
Hey,
Both are
that's
weird.
not up for debate right now.
Let's change the topic to the superiority of the metric system.
Yeah, exactly. Let's, does anybody else have anything to say before we move on?
Yeah,
John?
Well, I like Jan's idea about voting for concepts or ideas instead of voting for people. I don't know if that will work with people. However, what I truly believe in, I think the US is so stuck in the two-party system that I would love to see more parties, and that parties, when they win, that they form a coalition. So they always have to work together instead of left or right. You have to do concessions. And what Trump is doing, he's dividing people. And I hope that the US is able to get together instead of like, I think black, you think white. Like, what can we do in the gray area?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people in the US do have more in common that Trump presents at the moment. It works for him very well.
And in addition of Jens' idea, in Holland, in the Netherlands, there is an app, an existing app, who during the voting system, you can choose what is your interest in. And that's not a person who's coming out, but a party. And lots of people checking this app to see, okay, where do I stand? What's
my ideology?
Yeah, and that works very good. So there's an existing app for all of the world.
Yeah.
I feel like that's another thing that could change in the US, that the whole system could be more like online. There could be more, I don't know, it could be more like speedy, because I feel like there's so many problems with filling in pieces of paper. And so much gets lost in translation when people vote. But I mean, everything else can be done online. Why can't voting be done quickly and efficiently online?
Mm-hmm.
Because the Russians are going to interfere. I think it's too risky.
Too much hackers.
I think there's ways of securing online elections, which is okay. Go ahead, JP.
No, just blockchain, for example. The technology.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous that you can order a car and 2 minutes later you're sitting in an Uber going from A to B, and this works for millions of rides every single day all over the world. But governments can't organize a system whereby once every 4 years, once every 2 years, what have you, you need to press, they could basically do it on SurveyMonkey, right? If they'd really be, motivated to do so. Or maybe SurveyMonkey, the premium version with some extra cybersecurity, anti-Russian edition, what have you, right?
But yeah, they could, but you know that the whole purpose of politics is to is to attain and stay in power. It is the issue seems to be an annoyance for a lot of politicians that they really don't like to get involved with. But staying in power and it seems to be the primary goal. And I think that's where it kind of falls apart. You know, Jan, we're at 10 o'clock here right now, and I know we got to summarize. But what I'd like to do is maybe steal another few minutes before we summarize. I'd like to go on to one more question, and then we can summarize. I'd like everybody to kind of summarize what you feel about this. The one question that I have is in the chat, and if we can answer very quickly, we can get to the summarizations. What one attribute do you like most about any one candidate? And how much does it influence vote? I'd like to answer for Trump. I like that he has a disruptive approach that has brought some welcome change. Some allies in NATO now are at last spending more on defense, and that China knows that the White House now recognizes it as a formidable adversary. And for Biden, I like that he's supporting science over politics to manage to that he would support science over politics to manage this pandemic. Naomi, one attribute for each.
So
Trump.
One attribute do you like most about? So for Trump, actually, I don't like anything. I'm going to be
Biden.
honest. For Biden, I like that he's personable and sort of down to earth. I don't know what word, like, you know, I feel like he can relate to the everyday people or person. And he seems more genuine to me than Trump does.
Thank you. Jackie, Jackie and then Conrad, one attribute for Biden and Trump.
I'm going to skip to the next person. I'll go after.
Conrad.
Okay. Biden seems not as chaotic in any sense as Trump, which is good for a politician. And Trump, he gives the best memes. Man, the best memes comes from him.
Okay, thanks. David, Trump and Biden, the one attribute you like the most.
Oh no. I really admire how well Trump hides his balding head. Really impressive.
And Biden?
Same.
Geez, I don't know. I don't feel strongly about Biden either, if that wasn't clear. I like how I'm not worried that at any moment he's going to like decide to draw the nukes on somebody.
Okay, thank you. Elizabeth?
Oh,
An attribute, Trump and Biden.
Trump. Despite everyone thinks he's very, crazy, probably. I think he has the guts to still confronting the problems in the USA.
Okay.
And about Biden, I don't have a good hunch. Do you say?
Hunch, yeah.
Hunch about him. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, JP.
I like Trump's resilience. I don't like what comes with that resilience, but I like his resilience. And I like Biden. What I like the most about Biden is that he's a Trump.
Thanks. Robin John?
Your mic.
Sorry. Well, you have to give them both credits. They're both over 70, I believe. There are so many beautiful and smart, intelligent people in the US, and they came on top of it. Those are the two men that people can vote for. That is respect, seriously.
Yes.
Okay. Rob, you?
it's hard to find something. I think Trump makes clear that nothing is clear in this world. That he has a new definition of news. What is news? What is information? And it's hard to see it, but he did it. Biden, I don't know. And Biden is, I think, he is building bridges anymore, or he's more a builder.
A bridge builder.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jackie.
I like that he's a little more logical and, like Rob was saying, a bridge builder, like making connections with others. And then Trump, I think a positive about him is that he really has no shame and he just goes for what he wants.
Okay, wow, okay. Who else do we have? Jan?
So I'll start with Biden for a change. I really admire his perseverance. He was both the youngest and the oldest candidate of a mainstream political party in the US. It's his third time, trying to be president. And he has some serious limitations. So like I think he was a stutterer when he was younger. So the fact that he actually can get on the debate stage, wow. And Trump, I just love the nicknames he comes up with. I adore, like Crooked Hillary.
Sleepy Joe?
Yeah, Crooked Hillary, Lion
Sleepy
Ted,
Joe, yeah.
Sleepy Joe, I love it. It's genius. It's absolute genius. It just sticks in your head.
Yeah. Who else didn't go? Did you go? We hear from you, Conrad? And
yeah,
we heard from you.
I believe.
So we heard from everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go to the summary here. I believe time is flying by. It's incredible.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go to. I'd like each of you to give your final thoughts from our discussion, and if you could keep it, please, to maybe a couple of minutes. We only have 10 minutes. I'd really appreciate it. What did you learn? Were there any surprises tonight? And how might it impact your personal life? I'll put it in the chat here. What did you learn? Were there any surprises tonight? And how might it impact your personal life?
So will you be assigning people, or whoever feels like it can go?
Whoever wants to go. We only got like 2 minutes each. Jan, you go first.
All right. I didn't even have time to think about it, but here goes. Straight off the mind press, I think was the term David used. I learned that we're all deeply dissatisfied with how our politics works right now. Were there any surprises? I'm not really surprised by the fact. I'm maybe surprised that the results in Florida are so close right now. So that's a major surprise, but it's not really a surprise directly connected to the debate. In terms of impact on personal life, I'm coming back to the subject of the debate. I'm unfortunately only privy to half of the debate. And I think it really got me thinking about what we need to do on a systemic level to allow us humans to emotionally react to the proper things we should be reacting, right? So if we're voting against our interests, we should be pissed. We should be absolutely furious with ourselves. If we're voting for our interests, we should be elated, right? And that should be the proper alignment of emotions. And there's something definitely wrong in the political system, which misaligns our emotions. And that's what I think I'll take away from this debate.
Thank you. JP.
Yeah, I think what I take away is that it's more serious than I thought. You know, like the problems that we have systemically, it's more serious than I thought. But there were a few very, very good ideas about, you know, like not voting for people, you know, like, so but I think there's a lot to be done, and it's great to be able to sit down here with people from different coming from different systems or different backgrounds to discuss what we're going to do. So that's what I take discussion. Great.
Thanks. David?
Oh boy. Yeah, taking in like the perspectives of people. I think as others already mentioned, like the biggest thing for me that I'm thinking about and just need to learn more about is how do we actually go forward and put in place the changes we want in our political systems, because like I've sat through provincial as well as federal elections that promised changes to the way that we vote, and then the person gets in and they're just like, oh, actually, now that I'm in power, I'm not going to change the way the voting system works, even though that was an issue that people voted for. So we have a lot of good ideas, and now what I really want to think about is how do we actually change, like can we change our political system without being actively like a member in the Senate seats?
Thank you. Very good. Elizabeth?
Well, more than instead of answering this question, what I want to say is, I hope the one that wins bring more peace to the world. I think the world needs a better place, a better leader, and the future depends much about the result of USA's elections. And now I was watching the New York Times, and it's saying that Trump is winning.
No, but it's temporary results.
Yeah, I know. Every election has these temporary numbers. Yeah, but the tendency is like slightly winning Trump.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Naomi? Any surprises? What did you learn? How might it impact your life? You've already mentioned some of that already.
Yeah, Elizabeth is just, what you said is just breaking my heart.
But depends on what your source.
I think
what maybe fake news. For me, it says that Biden is winning. So
okay.
I think I'm just, I don't know. I think I'm just tired of the drama. I know I'm not answering the question directly, but I'm ready to move forward, I guess, with Biden. Because I can't go through another 4 years of what we've gone through the past 4 years, or even just this year alone, 2020. It's exhausting. I'm exhausted. I'm sure people are exhausted. And I don't feel safe in the United States, especially being of a, African American, Black colored woman. And that's scary because I'm in a Western country, a first world country. I don't feel safe. So I think I'm just tired, and the US shouldn't feel this way. This place should feel like the land of free and happiness and independence, and it doesn't feel that way anyway. Actually, I feel like I'm living in a third world country all over again, which is scary. So
I kind of agree with some of those comments. For me, how it might impact my personal life, I may spend more of the year outside of the US, and I'm working towards that already. Wow. So I'll just leave it like that. Conrad.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect of this campaign, of this election. I just would like that really that there is no violence. That whatever happens, wherever wins, either way you lean right or left, there is no violence. That people don't go that path, and maybe later in a couple months, in a couple years, hopefully not that long, that people in both sides, right or left, try to see the things from the other side, try to have more perspective, and say, huh, maybe this that I'm doing, it's affecting the other person, and I thought I was right, you know. uh, I know, have some conscience that maybe you messed up, be mature like an adult, I mean. Be an adult and say, huh, maybe I'm not right about everything, and that's it. That's all I hope for this election. No surprises right now. Just I hope for no violence and have perspective.
Me too. Robin, John?
Not really surprises, I think. Perhaps that one voting system in America so influence all our minds thinking, all our, it's only one system in the world, it's not the only one. It's complex, and I know we are aware that this voting system is corrupt. We know it, but we still going on, and it is not easy to change this. It's not surprising me, but I was listening to you, and I was inspired by some ideas. So thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Very good, John.
It's difficult to answer this for me. Thank you so much for this evening. I don't know. I have to think about it. I can answer this tomorrow, but that's too late.
That's
but
okay.
Thank you.
That's okay. Who else said?
We're
Who
going
else
to,
do we have?
we're going to the main room, maybe to the taco time.
Yeah, we got 40 seconds.
There you go. JP?
Have a good night.
Okay.
We're still going to the Central Forum where we'll meet up with the other